Well, you've just listened to the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele reading out the considerations and the decisions as reached by the Monetary Policy Committee at its second meeting for the year. Of course, maintain status quo on all key parameters. We have the monetary policy rate unchanged at 14%, cash reserve ratio at 22.5%, liquidity ratio at 30%, and of course the asymmetric corridor around the MPR at plus 200 and minus 500 basis points. So let's continue our panel conversation. And we're joined on the panel by the Chief Executive Officer, Lead Securities and Investments, Dolapo Ashiru. Dolapo, it's great to have you join us on the program. Well, let's start with taking your immediate reactions, listening to the Monetary Policy Committee communique there as being read by the CBN governor. No surprises for you, I'm sure. No surprise.
This is what the market was expecting. We're expecting it because of the fact that we feel that in the last 16 months, the 16th month so far, we saw the inflation fall. So we felt we are of the opinion that the CBN will want to wait out this process, especially with the fact that the official and parallel market rates are coming closer than before. They want to wait and see the results of that before they make any change. So if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. They'll maintain it until the next MPC meeting. So if there be any change at all, it will be sometime in May or the July meeting.
But then, Oluwaseun, do you expect to see any change at all, even at that time? Because remember, he also said that how sustainable will this OPEC production cut be post-July? Will we continue to see oil prices stable around $50, $51, $52 per barrel?
Whether or not oil prices remain at 50, 51, I believe strongly that with the structures that have been put in place, with the economic recovery growth plan and sustainability and maintaining this rates, I think we have enough room to maneuver between whether the oil prices go, because for me, again, look at it like this, even if oil prices, the higher the oil prices go, the more problematic the shale producers become to us. So it pays us for it not to go too much upward so that at least we can maintain it. If we're able to maintain it slightly above the budget price, I think we're good.
Wale, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Sean is much more in line with what we think. The key thing about oil price at the moment is the stability of the price. I mean, if it rallies too high, then you give the shale producers an incentive to come back to the market. But if they can keep the stability at 50 and above, then I mean we are good with our budget. And a major factor for Nigeria, actually beyond the price, is our volume production. So if we can maintain the momentum in the Niger Delta region, the economic growth and recovery plan is looking at a 2.5 million barrel by 2018, 2020. So I mean, if we can maintain momentum on that and we can increase our production, I mean, we can, rein in more effects into the economy. And I think the confidence that we've seen from the CBN governor earlier on, I think the bragging rights will probably increase. I mean,
and I'd like to comment on that. Yes, the confidence on the CBN governor's face was almost infectious. I became confident myself, especially when he was talking about the forex rates. Ayodele, do you believe that rates will converge further based on what the Central Bank of Nigeria is presently doing in terms of constantly intervening in the market?
Okay, now we look at what they are doing. Do they have the ability to continue to do that? That is hinged on what happened to oil price and oil production. If oil production drops, they won't be able to do what they are doing because that will impact on external reserves. If we have oil production at over 2 million barrels per day, as we've been seeing, then oil price at about $50 per barrel. Now that will inject additional effects to the system, which will enable users of FX to have access to that, then complementing that with policies from the fiscal authorities to improve the infrastructure in the country, which will help to increase our competitiveness. As we do that, we would be able to have a broad-based export, have local substitute for our import. So import is reducing, export is growing, then we'll have net increase in FX to enable us continue to increase the supply. Otherwise, the gap will increase.
But then you also have to remember that at this time, in spite of the bright spots we see on the economic horizon, people are still losing their jobs. We still have a major rationalization going on across major sectors of the economy. So if you want to achieve a situation where you find the average man on the street not being as miserable, because we have the misery index continuously climbing, and continuously appreciate what the monetary and fiscal authorities are doing, what at this time do you think that the economy needs? Let me start with you, Dolapo.
Yeah, first of all, I think that the biggest elephant in the room is still Forex. So I'm looking towards a convergence between the parallel market rate and the official market rate. I'm also expecting a better handshake between the monetary policy makers and the fiscal policy makers. So the implementation of the economic growth and recovery plan is also key for us to see this recovery we're looking for. Yeah.
Well, for you, the average Nigerian is expecting to see a better economy, talking about having a stronger consumer purchasing power, so to speak.
Yeah.
How do you think that can be achieved? Especially since, if you go to the banks, you can't get, loans at affordable interest rates,
Yeah.
and you're complaining about that. He also talked about it. That's been like a big mystery. Why can't we have more, flexible and people-friendly interest rates at this time, so that you have companies being able to stay afloat and employ staff?
Well, I think just like Dolapo mentioned, the key point is still the FX. What is driving interest rate higher? What is pressuring inflation rate is the FX. If the CBN, like we've seen in recent time, can supply more liquidity to the market, and we see convergence, number one, input costs will start moderating. The reason why companies are rationalizing is because, revenues are not growing as fast. So maybe I don't need as much input, I don't need as much labor. So I need to, cut my costs by reducing the amount I spend on labor. But if input costs start converging because, cost of production is reducing, FX will start converging, then I might need more people, I will employ people. So, in the short run, we need to, as fast as possible, fix the FX issue. Then we need to concentrate very significantly and very quickly